in general, so if you do have anyone that you want me to cover in a future throwback case, let me know down in the comment section below and I'll be sure to look into it. So Yanko is a UK drill rapper out of Newham, East London, and would represent the 7th gang. Now, I know a lot of different sets get thrown around which are affiliated with Yanko, such as CGE, BWC and WG, but to clear this up, Yanko comes from the Forest Gate area of Newham and would represent BWC, which is short for the Blackwater Close Estate. BWC, alongside the Wood Grange Estate, or WG for short, which runs along Wood Grange Road, would join alliances to form the 7th gang. The 7th gang are affiliated with other groups such as CGE or the Chad Green Estate and a bunch of other sets which all make Northside Newham. As you guys know, Yanko's rivals would be Southside Newham, which is made of sets such as the 6th gang or ACG and Custom House. So the first documented song of Yanko's on YouTube would be his hit Anyone Can Go, which dropped in April of 2019, and this is a direct diss track to his ops. I can't lie, he definitely made his mark from the jump on YouTube, because by this point, as a lot of you will know, the UK drill genre had been heavily censored, and to be sending direct shots like he did, alongside the fact that the Newham War had been brought to the mainstream by this point, it just made fans want to hear more from Yanko. Now, other music could have came out before this, either leaked or on a separate platform such as SoundCloud for example, but for context of the video, the timeline will be sticking to YouTube. So after Anyone Can Go dropped, throughout 2019, Yanko would drop songs such as Can't Rate, Love It, A Light Work Freestyle, Fishing, and would also drop a Next Up. And then in October, the 20th to be specific, The Race would drop, which is an animated video, and you know what that means. By this point, he would have been locked up in jail for a case that he got wrapped up in. So just like many throwback cases we've taken a look at before, Yanko would fall victim to the system, and just like we've seen time and time again, he would only get to enjoy the fruits of his labour for literally months after bursting on to the drill scene. But it seems like the case that he got wrapped up in was actually from the year before, that being 2018, and I'm unsure as to why he was only arrested towards the end of 2019, but if I was to take a wild guess, I would say that maybe initially when police opened the investigation, Yanko might not necessarily have been on the police's radar to connect him with the case. Again, there's no reports to say why this had happened, and that's just my own personal speculation. So at some point in 2017, the West Midlands and West Mercia police forces would start a county lines drugs network operation called Operation Ballot. Of course, this was to tackle a county lines problem in the region. During the investigation, the police had noticed that 31-year-old Newham native Bodrul Islam had gained a hold in Hereford, where he ran the quote-unquote D-line. Within a year, it was said that he dealt around £200,000 worth of Class A drugs in the town. But the police noticed that although Bodrul was running the line from Newham, he wasn't necessarily putting in the work, and West Midlands Police Detective Inspector Julie Woods, who oversaw Operation Ballot, would go on to say Bodrul Islam only visited Hereford on a few occasions and went to great lengths to distance himself from the city and the drug dealing. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, Hereford is a town, not a city, but the reason Detective Inspector Julie Woods mentions that he distanced himself from the city is the fact that Bodrul Islam had to make trips to Birmingham to stock the runners-up he had working in Hereford, and he would do this by using his friends as couriers to drop to the runners, and of course these couriers would then bring the drug money back to Bodrul. So this is how it would work. Bodrul Islam would make his way to Birmingham from Newham, and the couriers, which reports again say were his friends, would pick up the drugs and then of course drop the money off to him. Bodrul would then head back to Newham with the money, whilst the couriers would deliver the re-up to the runners. This process would then be repeated every time a re-up was needed. Although Bodrul would try to keep his distance as much as he could, he was picked up on CCTV in Birmingham clutching shopping bags, and police believe that the money used to buy things from shops was of course his drug money. Eventually the operation would come to a head though, and in February of 2018, roughly 1 year on from when he started to sell drugs in Hereford, the police would raid Bodrul's home in Newham, and it was here they found him with the main drugs phone and thousands of pounds in cash. Upon examining the phone, the police found 70 separate text messages which advertised drugs to 70 separate drug users in Hereford. Throughout the investigation, it was heard that around 2 kilograms of crack cocaine and heroin were flooded into the town, which again was said to have been worth around £200,000. There isn't much information in regards to a court hearing, but in regards to the operation, a total of 13 people were charged with conspiracy to supply Class 8 drugs. In regards to the roles that they played, Yanko, alongside Ramon Parkins and Jeffrey Akia, acted as couriers moving the drugs from Birmingham to the handover point in Hereford. Michael Fadibi and Ryland Joseph Wright were said to have coordinated activity in Hereford. Joshua Jewson, Harry Oakley Davis, Scott Lewis and Anthony Fish were said to have been the street dealers in Hereford. Gemma Peach, Simon Matthews and Peter Neal allowed their homes to be used as quote-unquote safe houses for the drug dealers, and it was at their homes the dealers coordinated their activities. Again, my speculation says that Yanko wasn't necessarily connected to the case to start with, but then of course by the time 2019 came around, I believe here he was then arrested. He, alongside pretty much everyone else, would accept the charges brought against them, but Bodrell and Michael would deny the charges brought against them. In March of this year, that being 2020, a trial had started at Worcester Crown Court, and halfway through the trial, Bodrell would go on to plead guilty to the charges brought against him, and at the end of the trial, Michael would go on to be found guilty. Ramon Parkins and Jeffrey Akia were handed 4-year sentences, and Yanko was handed a 3-year sentence, which was added to a 3-year sentence he was already serving for a firearms charge. For that, I believe years prior, he must have been caught with some kind of firearm, but because he was under the age of 18, I can't find any reports about it. He more than likely did half of his sentence and then got released on licence, but then after being caught for this, he was given a 6-year sentence. But given the fact that on his Snapchat he says that he's out in 2023, I'm guessing he'll be eligible for parole after serving half. Raylan was handed a 3.5-year sentence, Scott Lewis was handed a 3-year sentence, and Michael, although pleading not guilty, was only sentenced to 12 months. Bodrell Islam was jailed for 11 years, and in regards to everyone else, there's no reports that follow up with their sentences, as they were sentenced at a later date. So after the main sentencing hearing, West Midlands Police Detective Inspector Julie Wood said, Bodrell Islam had gained a significant foothold in the Hereford drugs market, but his operation couldn't have worked had it not been for the street dealers and local residents who allowed his couriers to use their homes as drug bases. Bodrell Islam has rightly been handed a long jail term for orchestrating the scheme, but we will also go after others who facilitate such county lines dealings. And according to the West Midlands Police, it was information from the Hereford community which played an important role in helping them bring down this county lines network. So the only music Yanko's put out that I'm aware of since he's been put in jail, again not going off a leak or on another platform, would be No Hook, which was released on the 26th of January 2020. Again, Yanko claims he'll be out in 2023, and by that time I definitely think he'll still have a massive buzz surrounding his name in the drill scene because of the impact he had in such a short space of time. If you didn't know, also in that same year, that being 2023, Striker from ACG will be getting released, and in my opinion,